You know how when someone rejects you, you come up with all these comebacks in your brain? And I just want to be like, I don't even like to read, Trisha. That book's probably gross. You keep it.
Welcome to the Holy Mess Podcast. I'm Bekah.
And I'm Joy.
And if you think you're a mess, you are not alone. Every week we talk about the mess of life through a lens of faith and find the hope in all of it. And today when we showed up to record, Joy and I are actually twinsies.
Yeah, we're matching. We both have on our black WayFM hat. These are brand new. And we both were like, bad hair day?
Yeah.
Yeah, totes. But they're still really cute, and we want to give one of these to you. So someone's going to win a WayFM hat. You can be twins right along with us. And all you have to do is share this podcast episode on Instagram and tag WayFM Afternoons. And then we're going to pick a winner. In this episode today, we're going to talk about rejection, how we handle it well, sometimes not so much, and we're going to talk about what an apology tour really looks like. But first, our messy moment of the week.
So we all have that friend that's kind of a flake, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't identify them, it might be you. And I recently found out that in this circumstance, it was me.
What'd you do?
I have a really close friend that lives geographically close to us.
That's me.
No, it's not you. It's not you. I didn't do anything to you.
Could anyone live closer than I do? Bekah lives like around the corner.
We're practically neighbors. But she had given me a house key a while back. At least this is what she alleges. Because every time I've hung out with her recently, like there was one time I went to pick her up and she said, I thought I locked myself out, but it'd be okay if I did because you have a spare key. And I was like, yeah, totally. But then in my mind, I'm thinking, do I have a spare key? I don't remember having a spare key.
And if you don't know where it is, you're literally no help.
Right. So this had happened a couple times, and I just kind of put it in the back burner of my brain thinking, okay, it's fine. She's responsible. She's never going to lock herself out.
Please don't tell me she did.
She called me. I was on my way to work, and she goes, hey, I am so sorry to bother you. I accidentally locked us out of the house, her and her 4-year-old daughter.
And all this time, you never thought, let me dig around for that key.
No.
Oh, Bekah, no.
And so I go, don't worry, girl. I got this.
No, Bekah. In that moment, you at least have to be like, it might be an hour. I have to dig through my drawers.
Because I never saw myself as the flake, so I was confident I could figure out the key solution.
Also, what if you don't even find it?
Okay, so I call my husband. I'm like, Danielle's locked out. She says we have a key. I don't know where it is. I need you to help me find it. So he said, okay, where would it be? And do you have like a box where you put things like that in your house?
We have like a spot where we hang all the keys, but then there's so many they fall off and they get like lost.
Okay. We have this little box that when we get random keys to things that we don't need on our keychain, we'll put it in the little box. And so I'm like, check the key box.
Did she say what it looked like, or you're just guessing any old key?
We're just guessing. And apparently we have...
showing up with 10 keys. Try these, girl.
That's what he did.
No.
Because he goes, there's about a dozen keys in here.
No.
And I go, take them all to her house because he knows her really well. So
yes.
He takes all the keys, and I get to work by this point, and I'm just really anxious trying to figure out what's happening. And he tries them all, and he's like, none of those keys work.
That's horrible.
So he ends up taking her and her daughter to school because they were running late on their day by that point. And it was in that moment that I realized, I put it on my key ring this entire time.
You've had it for that long?
The key has been on my person.
So you had to go home and get them in?
So thankfully, by the time that I figured that out, her landlord had been able to contact her landlord. She hadn't up until that point, and so it worked out. I started to head up that way, and then both her and my husband were like, don't worry about it. Like, the landlord's coming. Just go back to work. Stop.
Holy cow.
But man, and now I have this issue where I have a dozen unidentified keys to other people's homes. They've entrusted me. I don't think you've given me a key.
I all of a sudden was like, have I? But I never will now.
Don't do it. No. We have one key. Well, we're going to take the collection to my parents' house this weekend because I know we have a key to their house. I don't know which one it is.
We need to get a Sharpie in your hands and we need to do some labeling.
I don't know if maybe I should be proud that so many people see me as responsible, but I have clearly let several people down because I cannot keep track of my endless keys.
I think we've discovered that Bekah appears to be one way. Don't trust her with your stuff.
No, I'm not the key keeper.
Girl. You're not.
No, but there is a bit of good news here. This friend, Danielle, did not take the key back away from me. And in fact, I'm stopping by her house today to put something on her porch inside the house. So
What does that mean? You're giving her a gift?
No. She got a delivery and she just needs it put inside the house.
I think you owe her a gift.
I think I might owe her a gift. You're absolutely right.
I also was trying to figure out if you meant you were going to like give the key back nicely.
I probably should. But for now, she's like, yeah, hang on to that key. It's on your key ring, you dummy.
That's so good, girl. We've learned a lot. So my messy moment of the week is from the very beginning of the week. This is my birthday week. And so I decided to celebrate a little early. And I was like, what do I want to do that I've always wanted to do? And there's this really beautiful library that I've passed for like years now. And I've never gone inside. And I was like, I'm going to get me a book. Okay. I'm going to pretend I'm the kind of woman who has time to read.
I was going to say, since having Judah, your son, have you had that opportunity?
No, not really, but I want to.
It's wishful thinking.
It's like who I want to be in this next year, right?
Sure.
I love a good fiction book, and I get really like sucked into them. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get one, and I'll start reading it this week. And so I went in. Also, I would love to take my son to like a library, and so I check out the kids wing. It's insane. It was the size of my whole house. The kids wing. There was like trees in there and a place for kids story time, and I'm getting brochures. I'm talking to all the librarians. I was like, I can picture us here really happy.
Magical. I'm Belle in the library.
Yes. Oh my word. And it honestly was such a beautiful library that I was like, am I in the right building? Like, is there only books in here? And then I hung out literally in aisles and aisles of books, looking up all my favorite authors. I sat on the floor, like reading a couple pages of each one till I picked the book I wanted. And then I went up front to check out, and the lady was like, wonderful. I said, I'm gonna get a library card. Like, I haven't been to the library. I don't know about you. Do you go to libraries?
It's been a while.
I don't think I've been in like maybe 12 years.
Yeah, as a kid, I was always there. But
right, they're so fun. And I was like, I'm going to be a library attender. Like, I'm going to be this woman. So I was getting my library card, and she asked for my address, and she was like, you're a little outside of our district. And I was like, what does that like mean? And she said, well, it means that you can't have a library card here unless you pay $65. What? And so I just stared at her.
Be free.
I was like, ma'am, knowledge belongs to the people.
What?
I didn't say that, but I wish I had.
Here's the crazy part, too, because where we live in Nashville, I'm pretty sure if you get a library card in your district, you can check books out at other libraries. So I don't know why you couldn't just...
You know, that makes, Bekah, I didn't know that, but that would be great. But I don't even think that works here. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. So you might not know this area. It was the Brentwood Library, which is the ritzy part of town, which is why it's so gorgeous. And I just stood there looking at her like, is there any other way? And she's like, yeah, you can pay $65. And I looked at that book and I was like, keep it. And I just walked away. But I felt so devastated that I was like, just because I live in not as richy part of town, I can't even go to this library. And you know what? I went to my library yesterday.
My poor person's library.
It's literally a hole in the wall piece of junk. They didn't even have the AC on. I was sweating in there, and it was super tiny and grungy and yucky.
Did they have your book?
No.
What was the book?
Oh, okay, let me see if I can remember. It was like a Frank Peretti book, I think.
Okay.
I mean, it was one of those like kind of scary Christian fiction, which I love. And I'm just really disappointed. So all week long, you know, when someone rejects you, you come up with all these comebacks in your brain. And I just want to be like, I don't even like to read, Trisha. That book's probably gross. You keep it. I don't know why everyone in here's so rich. Have fun by yourselves.
You still have boogers like the rest of us, and you probably put them inside your books.
I've been doing it all week long. But
Wait, your boogers in the book?
No, I've just been insulting her in my mind, and it's not her fault. But deep inside, I'm like, dang, why am I poor? I want to go to that library. So, you know, it's fine. We'll be fine.
It's fine. We're fine. We're totally fine. We're normal people.
So now we're going to move on to how not fine we are, to our segment about what we're learning in therapy. And this isn't from specifically therapy, but this is something that Bekah, I'm guessing therapy's influenced this decision that you made.
Yes. And this decision also was brought up in a friend's therapy. And so...
Oh, snap. That might affect me then.
Yeah. Well, no. So it might. A year and a half ago, I decided that there were several people in my life, 5 to be exact, not several, that I owed apologies to. You have people in your past that maybe they wronged you or you wronged them. And some of them, it just kind of falls apart. But I knew these 5 specific people I owed apologies to. There were definite things that I could identify that I did wrong, and I owed them an explanation for that.
What made this come up like, I'm guessing this was during the pandemic.
It was. I think they had just always been on my mind. For example, one of them was someone who used to work here. And I was a jerk to him while he worked here for no good reason. There were things that influenced that meanness, but he didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
He didn't know the backstory. And so I think he had been on my mind for a while that I owed him this explanation. And then there were other people like that. There was a girl from middle school that I didn't directly bully her, but I was an accomplice to the bullies.
And I would never guess that you would be a bully.
It was one moment.
Wait, I don't know why I said that all judgy. I was totes a bully in middle school.
I think all of us have bullying moments, even if you weren't a bully.
Yeah, that's well said.
You probably at one point were trying to fit in with the cool kids, even though that was the wrong crowd to be in with. And so I looked her address up online and I sent her a letter in the mail because she's not on social media. Another person was a friend that was, when I first moved to Nashville, we had gotten close. And then she was just a lot for me. But instead of trying to set up healthy boundaries, I just ghosted her. And I always felt guilty. 2 were friends from college that when Joey got sick, our relationship kind of severed. And in those 2 instances, I wish that they had been better friends to me. But I also knew that I needed to explain my side of things.
Yes, because sometimes people just don't know. And without information, you don't learn this till you get older, but without giving them the opportunity to love you better or be there for you in the right way, then you've literally severed without any kind of understanding for them.
So those are my 5 people. Like you said, what brought this up? They had been on my mind for a long time.
Were you like, I want to put this to bed to move on? Or what was the feeling and the desire that you were going after?
It was, I owe them this. It wasn't
like a closure?
Yeah, but it wasn't even about me. It was, I hate that they are in the back of their mind, if my name comes up somewhere or if they have a memory.
It's not good.
It's not good. And it wasn't even about me. And to be honest, I never intended to share this story because I'm like, this is something that I just need to do. The only person who knew was my husband. But a couple weeks ago, something came up with some friends, and I mentioned that I had done this apology tour, and they're like, what? And asking the same questions you did, like, where did this come from? Why did you do this? How did you decide the people?
I like you've given it the name The Apology Tour. It's as if she like packed her bags and got on a bus and was like, I'm coming to your house. I'm going to your house.
I looked up the messages the other day because it's been so long. I can't remember what I said. And in one of them, I'm like, hey, I'm on a bit of an apology tour.
They're probably like, what does that mean? So some you wrote letters to.
Most of them were Facebook Messenger.
Okay, because that's the contact
that was the easiest contact for them, yes.
Okay, did you hear back from them?
I heard back from 3 out of 5 of them.
Did you hear back from our coworker?
I did. And it was a great message. And it was really healing because he's like, look, I wasn't always the easiest to work with. And here are the things that I need to apologize for.
We all love him.
We love him. And so it was the other 2, it's been hard because I've had to learn to let that go then. You know, it's like I did my part. And I just have to be okay that they didn't get back to me. Honestly, the girl from middle school, I might have had the wrong address, but maybe whoever it got to, she needed that today.
Who knows? Who knows who got that? But tell me how you feel now that it's over.
Oh, it was absolutely what I needed to do. And I will say, so one of the ones I didn't hear back from was a college friend. And I still am struggling with that one. She still shows up in my dreams a lot. I just wish that we could have a conversation because we were attached at the hip in college. There was no Bekah without Reba. We were always together. And that just was done overnight. And that's hard to think about. And so I still don't necessarily feel settled from that, but I, again, know that I did my part. And the reason this came up recently is, I mentioned it to these friends, and my friend now took it to her therapist and was like, my friend Bekah did this, and I think I might need to do the same thing.
Well, do you know what her therapist said? Like, how do we decide who we need to do this with and who we don't?
Well, so her therapist, first of all, was like, your friend Bekah sounds like she's had some growth. And I'm like, thanks, therapist, I don't know. But so I think what she's doing in her journey with this is writing letters, not with the intention of sending them, but just to kind of work through those feelings.
To decide if she should say something?
Yeah, if, friendships sometimes have dissipated because the other person was a jerk. And maybe it's okay that you have moved on from that and you don't necessarily need to revisit it.
Yeah.
But for me, these 5 people, I knew that I was in the wrong in some way.
Wow.
And I knew that I needed to do something about it to be able to just, I just can't even call it closure because I felt like I owed it to them.
That's really well said. I think it's hard when I think back over my life. I think that the relationships that have gone away, which I'm an Enneagram 6, I'm sad that anyone I've ever been friends with in my life is not still my very best friend.
Because the 6 is the loyalist.
Yes, we don't like to let people go, and it's sad for me. So I've learned that there's seasons of our lives, but anybody that I don't feel like I could like call up today or that something has happened, almost all of them, I think, I feel like I did the best that I could in the moment. We tried to find closure, but this is something I think for us to process this week. I want to know if there's somebody I need to do that with. So maybe that's something I take to God and I process in prayer. And I trust that he would bring it up if there is someone I need to make amends with. But this is a really good way to, I think, live life after the pandemic. If nothing else, I mean, obviously we're still dealing with it in a lot of ways. But after the last 2 years, there has been so much loss, so much grief, and so much isolation that we need to do all we can to be in right relationship with people around us.
And I'll say this, this was years of thinking of these people. This was, so when you're like, oh, we should think about it this week. Yeah, absolutely. Think about it this week.
But forever.
I'll just tell you that this was on my heart. It was almost a conviction that I needed to do this for a very long time before I did it. So I'm not like everyone should go question every decision. Who do you need to apologize? Do it now.
Or else.
But, you know, if there's something on your heart, I believe that God puts it there for a reason. If God puts a person on your heart and they haven't been in your life for a while, there's probably a reason for that. Maybe you owe them an apology. Maybe they just need a friend right now, and you can't know that until you reach out.
That's so good. Bekah, thanks for doing that and living that so we can learn from it.
Yes. Again, I never planned to share it, but now that it came out to this one small group, they're like, you got to put that on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
There you go. On to our mess and bless of the week. Do you want to start with your mess?
I do, but all of a sudden I can't remember which is. Oh, okay. I couldn't remember which was the mess and which was the bless. Okay, my mess of the week is that they've done some research to figure out how long it would take a hacker to crack your password. This has been on the forefront of my mind because here at Way FM Studios, they are trying to protect us from anyone who might want to take over. And we all had to reset our passwords last week. And I didn't know how ignorant I was about technology till I logged onto my computer and it was like, no. Double no. I tried to make a new password that was 25 characters long, and it was like, still no. And I came in and just handed my laptop to someone, and I was like, please help. And I've been logged out of everything. So I've been making new passwords for like 20 sites this week. And here's what they say. Any password that is 6 characters or less can be cracked instantly. Do you know how many yours is? She's counting.
Okay, so I have a few.
She almost said it out loud.
One is 8 and one is 10.
Okay, that's pretty good. Here's another thing to check. If your password is all lowercase, anything less than 9 letters, still cracked immediately.
Okay, that used to be my password, but now sites really don't let you do that anymore, so I had to retire that password.
If you use lower and uppercase letters, it still needs to be 12 characters long to even be somewhat secure.
I can't remember 12-letter words.
Exactly. I don't think any of my stuff is secure. At this point, I said on the radio this week that if someone could help make my computer stop prompting me so often for the passwords, I would give them all the passwords for free.
Yeah, seriously. Just hack me at this point.
Hack me if you can help me. That's all we're saying. And basically none of us are safe. So what is your mess of the week?
Mine has to do with Chick-fil-A, which we've talked before on the... No, they're not in the wrong. Of course they're not in the wrong. Sweet baby angel chicken? No.
Okay,
it's okay.
Good.
But the city of Santa Barbara, they are so tired of the Chick-fil-A in their town messing things up that they are getting ready to label it as a public nuisance.
What do you mean messing things up? Are you talking the line that's a rapidy wrap around?
Yes. And so apparently it's not in a very good location. But
that's not on Chick-fil-A. They didn't ask to be built.
They said that traffic is terrible. It's messed up the flow of the sidewalks. City buses, emergency vehicles have had trouble getting by it. So they're ready to label it like Chick-fil-A is a public nuisance, which seems like an overreaction. Maybe just help the Chick-fil-A move because it's clearly good for your city.
I think the main road everybody's using should be the Chick-fil-A parking lot. Just build another road. I don't understand. Just do it.
And I'm curious. It's so weird to me because where I grew up in Illinois, people were like, oh, yeah, Chick-fil-A, whatever. But here in Nashville, oh, it's a big deal. And you better be ready to wrap twice around the building. And the Chick-fil-A by our house is not built well. It is a tight parking lot.
You have to be down a hill and around the corner and in traffic, risking your family's lives to be in the line. And we do it every day for the sauce.
I have a new, this just came to me. You know what we should do? Chick-fil-A's should be built inside mega churches. Okay? Bear with me. They're going to be closed on Sunday anyway, but these churches have the parking lot. They have the space. Like, you pull into the complex and it's good to go.
Idea.
Right?
You could get some Jesus and some chicken.
Yeah.
There could be someone, well, if people start sharing Jesus in the line, I don't know. Some people might turn away, but it's fine. That's what we should be doing. Bekah, that's a great idea.
Right? So that is my mess.
My bless of the week is about... really the woman who should be president, Dolly Parton. Listen, she's in the news because she turned down the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination. So I thought this was so incredible. She gets nominated for stuff all the time. Here in Tennessee, they actually wanted to make a statue of her and make a big deal at the very beginning of the pandemic. And she said, no, thanks. I think we should be focusing on things other than me in this season. So she turned that down. But then the idea, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is the kind of thing that would outlive her. I mean, I'm sure many of the things that she does will. But the idea that she turned it down because she said that doesn't really fit my music, and I am honored. But this isn't for me. I mean, she doesn't do rock and roll music. Right. I don't know how. She's like, I don't know how my name got through. But most of us would not be humble enough to turn down an honor like that. And she is saying, with all due respect, please give it to someone else who fits this better. And I love that about her. Also, that she provides books for our children with the Imagination Library, a free book every single month for kids.
Or do you remember when, because she invested $1 million into the vaccine, but then was like, oh, I don't want to be first in line to take it. I don't want to cut the line. Like, she helped fund it and then didn't want to be in front of anyone else. Honestly, though, her turning down the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is probably the most rock and roll thing that you could do.
What? But there's brand new news that said she's actually going to stay on the nominee list.
I think they are refusing to take her off.
Yeah, which kind of, are they trying to out rock and roll her by being like, you can't decide, we'll force you into the Hall of Fame? I don't know. They're like, we don't care what you think, Dolly, which makes us loathe them. So there you go.
I don't think there's been a single Dolly Parton story over the last few years that I don't absolutely love. And I'm really glad you brought this because I almost pulled it and I didn't. Yes.
I don't even know anything about country music or any of her music except for like Jolene, but I just really support her.
Absolutely. Okay, my bless of the week. This is a video that I came across on TikTok that honestly should be way more viral, should be covered by news stations. It only has like less than 1 million views. But it's of this woman, and she shares as she's traveling for work that she was walking to the lactation pod at the airport because, you know, when you fly and you're breastfeeding.
I've used these.
Yes, they're like nice little, not closets, but it's like a room.
It's a room in the middle of like a hallway.
Yes.
And it's all covered. They're amazing, but not a lot of airports have them. I had to research.
Yeah, and so it's a nice private place. So if you're traveling, you can still be able to pump and then take the milk back to your baby.
Yeah.
And she said, I was walking to the lactation pod on the verge of an emotional breakdown from missing my baby when. And then she showed video of all of these notes lining the walls of this lactation pod. And it was all letters of encouragement written from mamas around the world.
That is so special.
Right?
No joke, when I used one, which is also where you can just take your kid and nurse them, I wrote the company. And I was like, thank you for doing this. These are so needed. They're not in every airport.
And it's so cool. Some of the notes, she shared some specifics. One was, I came here for a business trip. I got a call from my husband that he was taking our 11-month-old to urgent care. So I had to fly home early. I was, really spinning out about missing this meeting. And then I came in here and saw all these notes. And I just want to pass it on to the next mom that needs it, that you're doing a good job.
Oh, it's so hard in that stage. It's so hard because you're trying to be a person and live your life. And at the same time, you're trying to keep a human alive with your body. It is so exhausting. I did it for like 15 months and it's so tough. And I just love that those moms are trying to encourage each other.
And recognizing that, look, we're all going through this. So let's remind each other that we're not alone. So I'm curious, as we end the podcast, Joy, as a mom, what is something that you would like to tell new moms?
I think that it's just a season. I had that written on my mirror and I looked at it every day, even though I didn't believe it, because one of my girlfriends said that to me. This is a season, because a lot of people like to say things like, well, say goodbye to sleeping and like say goodbye to, having conversations with your husband and like all these really negative things. And I took some of that in and believed it because I was spiraling anyways with postpartum depression. But knowing that this is not going to be this hard forever. Like, trust me, being a mom is hard. Every stage has its challenges. But you don't need to hear that in the beginning when you're literally stretched to the very end of yourself. You need to know, and I tell this to moms now, every month it gets a little bit easier. I love that now I can hand my kid some food and he just like goes and eats it. I was like, water or milk? And I hand it to him and
he's like, I'm a human.
I know. I'm like, I don't have to carry you everywhere. You just walk there. I mean, there's so many things that get easier, and just know you are going to get through this and it's going to be over before you know it.
I also love the advice that you share to people who have a new mom in their life.
Oh, you got to ask her how she's doing. So many people are like, how's the baby? Because a lot of babies do have some struggles when they're first born, but I think not enough people check on the mama. And so I even discovered that I had postpartum depression because like one or two women in my life sat down and they were like, how are you doing? And I was like, great. It's great. I gave all the expected answers. And then they were like,
we're so blessed.
How are you really doing? How are you sleeping? How's your mental health? Yeah. How's your emotions? How often are you crying? And you know how deep you can go with that. But even if you're just like friends, not even super close with somebody, text that mama and be like, so excited for the baby, but I just want to know how you're faring. How are you doing? And then if they tell you something like scary or I'm not doing well, let them know you're there. Say, I'm going to bring a meal, whatever you can do, and just encourage them. Be like, I know, I've heard it's a season. It's going to get better. That's all you need.
And I mean, if nothing else works, just tell them their baby's ugly so they don't need to care that much about it. It's fine.
That will actually not work.
Okay.
That would make me cry again. Thanks so much for listening. If you got something out of this episode, please share it with a friend and leave us a review. That's how more people get to share in this messy family. And if you have anything you want us to know, please email us, holymess@wayfm.com.